What up, world? This is the GoalNet recording live here from outside of Chicago. Been a minute. Took the summer off. Didn't plan to, just sort of happened. Hopefully nobody's too upset about it. Hockey is back. Have a ton of back to hockey reviews coming. And first up is today's video explaining what the differences are between the HZRDUS PX4 on the left and the Catalyst PX3 on the right. In case it's not obvious, my boot says L87. That means that it is the Catalyst series pad with the retro L87 skin. The L87 skin is an homage to when Lefebvre made their first set of goalie pads in 1987. So before we go any further, I do have one piece of housekeeping, which is extremely interesting. I hope that you all at home watching agree. You get to hear some annoying cliche YouTube content from me moving forward. Please thank our sponsors and buy from the link below. Hit to subscribe, yada, yada, yada. The reason being, I'm excited to announce that I have a new partnership with Goalie Monkey, the best place to buy goalie gear. They have physical retail locations all over the US, as well as an online store, and they are very into custom orders. Moving forward, we'll have some more announcements about custom orders. But today we're here to talk about the new True PX4 and how it's different from the PX3. At some point when I get the codes live and everything, I will update the video in the description. So if you do happen to see any of this product and want to buy it, please think about purchasing it with my code. It will help support the channel and maybe funnel some more activity back into the channel. So thanks again. Let's dive into business. So generally speaking, the pad on the left is supposed to be the most modern bleeding edge technology pad in the True family. The pad on the right is supposed to be the blend of modern technology and traditional feel and performance. And both of my pads, before we go any further, I also want to make note, they are customized to my specifications. So both of these pads are going to play more similar than the retail version of the pads. However, they will not be exactly the same, even though both of them are ordered with the stiff core, no brake internal, no brake external, 120-degree boot option, flexible boot, no knee strap, nylon down at the calves. So these pads are very similar spec. There are some subtle differences, and I can tell you, using them both, I do have a definitive favorite, and stay tuned to the end because it might surprise you. So the first and most obvious difference to these pads are the knee rolls. Catalyst series has the knee rolls, HZRDUS series does not, but it actually goes further than that. It's not just a visual knee roll versus a flat-faced pad. The foam inside the knee rolls is actually softer, and it's designed to deaden the puck a little bit as opposed to, say, be extremely hard off the knee like the HZRDUS pad. And that gets back to what I was saying earlier. Pad on the right here is supposed to be a blend of traditional feel and modern technology. And one of the ways to achieve that is that when it hits you in the knee roll, it's actually going to feel like it's hitting you in the knee roll. Might sound subtle, but I can definitely say there are differences between getting here and getting hit here on the pad. If this were a stock pad, from the retail store, you're going to have one break here below the knee, and you will also have a break here at the outer roll. This pad will have an internal break, so the foam will actually have a break, which is a flex joint right here under the knee, and no outer roll. So my pad looks similar, even though I have no breaks here. Second difference, which does affect feel and performance, but is also something I think most consumers walking in a shop will notice, is the outer roll here. So this is a thinned out square outer roll. So this is going to be flat from the internal edge to the external edge there, maybe looking down at the boot where it's a little bit thicker. You'll see that. So although pads used to physically be round. This is more of a traditional design here on the Catalyst series. We jump over to the HZRDUS series here, the PX4, and very obvious, you have a triangular shaped roll. So it is closer to the face of the pad, and then it gets wider as you get toward the outer edge. So what's the point of an outer roll altogether? It's called puck skip over. So if a puck is coming up, it can hit the outer roll and hopefully give you a little bit of extra coverage. Effectively, the knee roll, or the outer roll here is cutting down the angle. Back in the day, the rolls actually used to help pads that were stuffed with deer hair or foam, gave the pad some structural rigidity to stand up. But now that all the goalie pads are pretty much made with a solid core, it's about skip over and trying to prevent pucks from going up. So this is going to be thinned out and modern. It might have a little bit different feel if you take a clapper there versus there, but the functionality is there, but it is a different shape designed to have a different feel and make the lightest possible outer roll. Again, HZRDUS designed to be all out performance, Catalyst more of modern technology, traditional feel. All right, this section of the video is going to cover the strapping, the wraps, and the calf plate. I think this is one of the things that most consumers won't notice walking into a retail store. It also might be the hardest to show over video, but this is really when you get into the nuances of what makes a Catalyst PX3 and what makes a HZRDUS PX4. And that's where, even though my pads are built with the same core specs, the same knee strapping, the same boot, they do feel different. And I can tell you that I notice the differences on the ice. So on the left now, being the Catalyst pad, you'll notice the FRS system goes down below the red strap and is actually going to come in and interact with your boot. Versus on the HZRDUS series, there's no material. So here's the flap. You can see the pointer here. This flap does not exist on the HZRDUS series. And then if we actually look at the wraps themselves, and you can see the weave material there and how much lower it is, this wrap actually comes down 2 to 3 inches lower. So you have an extra piece here on the FRS, and the calf wrap comes down lower. Now we take a look at the inner gusset or the sliding surface and the calf plates, and we see the other major differences. So as I described below, or before rather, you can see the wrap comes down versus it stops here. The other big difference is the actual shape of the calf plate here. This one is bigger and rounded, has a bit more gap, I'd say, between the top of the plate and the bottom of the knee stack. This one is larger and more squared off. You can see there's also a little bit of a shape difference at the top as well. We'll get to that in a second. So this is not a perspective thing. There's also a difference in the shape. So here on the left, the Catalyst PX3 series, this is extremely narrow, and then this notch gets thicker. And you can see it's a much sharper angle versus here on the HZRDUS on the PX4. It is extremely thin on the top, but it's a little bit of a flatter angle the way it scoops out in the thigh rise there. All right, so we've really gotten into the weeds about what's different about these pads. Hopefully nobody is lost yet. So now that we've pointed it all out, what does it mean? Why is it different? What does that mean for me as a goalie? What type of goalie am I that might like each pad? This PX4 HZRDUS series designed to be a modern goal pad, which means that your leg is going to more move inside the pad, and it is designed to stick with you less when you go up and down. It's going to feel less traditional. It's going to wrap around your pad less, your leg less, excuse me. That is why all of these features here are square. It's super thinned out as well. On the Catalyst series, it is designed to be bigger and wrap around your leg more and feel more like a traditional goal pad, which is why you have the extra pieces of wrap here and you have the different shape with the plates on the inner part of the pad. And to take that one step further, I forgot to mention it, this boot here, you can see the way the lacing goes. This is designed for your foot to rotate in there when you're getting in and out of the butterfly, versus this one has a subtle recess. Hopefully you can watch, your foot kind of tracks and should get stuck a little bit in that channel. And this one is designed to keep the pad more centered on your skate and move less when you're moving. So all in all, the HZRDUS PX3 series, again, to reiterate this, designed to wrap around your leg a little bit more, designed to keep your foot centered in the goal pad. And even though it has modern technology, it's designed to feel more like a traditional, slightly more flexible goal pad, even though neither of these pads is really flexible with the stock offering. Even though you can order them flexible, they're both stiff. This pad is designed to kind of sit higher in your leg, and you have all the space in the world to rotate, let your foot slide in and out of there as you're getting in and out of quick, aggressive butterfly motions, things like the RVH, etc. So we've talked about the differences between the pads. A couple other notes I want to do is maybe just the similarity in the pads. The fit is very similar. It's the same size, at least for me, no matter what pad you wear. The true pads do fit a little bit different in other pads. So instead of being like a 35+1 or a 35+1.5, I think these are 33+2.5. Fortunately, I was custom fit by the True factory. So these pads feel like any other pads. I'm elated with the fit on the ice, but I do find the sizing is unique. So definitely get with a high-end store like a Goalie Monkey to get yourself fit properly, so you order the right size pads. So the HZRDUS PX3 series came out. This was a new pad for the 2023 season. This was the 24 pad. We are getting into 25 products. So the HZRDUS PX3, I would assume, will eventually be replaced by next summer with the HZRDUS PX5. But anyway, the big things that came out with this series of pad was the fiber reinforcements. So there's a plate in the thigh rise of each of these pads. They got 40% stiffer. And then with the notches here in the thigh rise, like we talked about before, they got 30% thinner. So that technology debuted here on the HZRDUS series and then was ported over to the HZRDUS series when it got updated. And really where the differences are is sort of how the pad's gonna feel in your leg. So if you follow any of my content, I generally like the quote unquote stiff pad or the more modern. So in CCM, I'm an XF guy. In Bauer, I'm a Supreme guy. CCM, I should say Axis. E-Flex is my least favorite of the two. Vapor is my least favorite of the two. So just based off that, you'd say I'm a HZRDUS goalie. Well, these pads built to the same specs where they have the solid inner core, no breaks outer. I have the more open boot option, 120, which is going to feel more like the classic Reebok Premier Series. It's also going to sit higher off your skate, which I find gives you more mobility and more range of motion. Also helps to kick the rebounds out into the corner more as opposed to out in front of you, because this boot is more open instead of up like that, which is more common. Most goalies today like the pads to sit on their skates. So these pads are built exactly to the same specs, if that's not clear. So by stock, if I were leaving a store, I'd probably be happier in the HZRDUS series. However, with both of them customized the same way, I actually prefer the HZRDUS series a little bit better. That's not to say HZRDUS is a bad pad, because it's not. It's just for me and my style of play and the fit and the feel, with these pads both tricked out so they're super stiff. I love the way that a little bit more of the traditional wrap feels in my leg. And between the two calf plates, I had a little bit better luck sliding with the HZRDUS series. But again, if I were a retail customer buying them off the shelf at Goalie Monkey, I would leave with the HZRDUS series pad and I would be completely happy. One other thing to note, if I didn't say this earlier, 50% of the NHL goalies use True goalie equipment. You can't really go wrong with either way. You need to wear what works for your game. I'm not advocating buying something because it's popular in the NHL, but on the flip side, if it's a good product and it's that popular in the NHL and Lefebvre gear across some of the different brands they partnered with, has been #1 in the NHL for probably 25 plus years now. That's not a mistake. They make a fantastic product. It's extremely high build quality. It's extremely consistent set to set, and you know it's going to last a long time. So I just want to be clear on that. Like, I'm not at all saying, you know, buy a Catalyst instead of a HZRDUS. I'm letting you know that when both pads were built to the same configuration, I never would have guessed it, but I like the traditional wraps a little bit more. It's just a subtle feel thing. And who's kidding who? You know, the L87 retro skin just looks sick. But if I were fresh buying in a store, to reiterate, I would leave with Catalyst. And where I'm going is both of these pads are, you know, have some similar flavor to them. You're really getting into the nuances of feel when we talk about the rebounds off the knee rolls or the feel of the wraps. They're not horribly different where like you're not going to be miserable, I don't think, in either pad if you like a true pad. I think you'll probably be happy in either. It's just sort of a preference of which one are you happiest in or which one fits your game best. One thing to note, this is not a review. We will come back and do the review on the HZRDUS. Check out my YouTube channel. The review on the L87 already exists, the Catalyst PX3. Next, we're going to do the glove and the blocker, talk about the differences there, and we'll wrap the video up. All right, so here we are, legendary topic, the Lefebvre 580 90-degree break glove. Fan favorite, custom option favorite, imitated by every other brand on the planet, probably never ever matched. Spoiler alert, this is going to be the fastest section of the video because there aren't really any differences. True makes 3 gloves. They make a 600, they make a 590, and they make a 580. The difference are the break angles. The fingers closure being the 580, a little bit smaller, more natural finger closure in the 590, which is probably the most popular glove in the world. And then the finger to thumb closure on the 600, which was a super hot option when Carey Price first started wearing it, probably like 15 years ago. And I think over time, and the dust settled, people have gone back to the 580 and the 590 being their bread and butter, and the 600 is probably the least popular of the 3 gloves. Real quick, would love comments down below from anybody that's watched my reviews before. Do you like one long, whatever the heck this is going to be, 30 to 45 minute video talking about the full set at once? Or would you rather have 3 smaller videos like a pads video, a glove and blocker video? Let me know down below because, like I say, this is kicking off back to hockey content. A lot of stuff coming, hopefully a video a week or at least 2 a month moving forward. So let me know down below and I will modify it. So at retail, what is the difference between the glove on the left being the Catalyst PX3 and the glove on the right being the HZRDUS PX4? A skate, lace, pocket. That's the only difference. A 580 is a 580. True doesn't mess around. They don't make change for the sake of change. If you go custom, there's lots of fun options that you can go through. 3 different glove breaks, 2 different wrist straps, 3 different palm options, different T options, skate lace, nylon lace. So you can make lots of different permutations of the true glove to get you what you want. But at the end of the day, they have one glove. So stock at retail is a 590, which is a 60-degree break. This is the 580, which I always order. But as you can see, my 2 gloves are stock in that regard. We have nylon lacing and skate lace. So this is inside the PX4. So the Sure Grip material will be stock. I go with the leather wrist strap. The nylon pull style will be with stock. Skate lace will be stock on one, nylon on the other. I prefer single T. Double T will be stock, and again, 580 break. One other note, you can see the 580 tag. This is the Game Ready Extra. This is the Game Ready Standard. If you watched my review already on the PX3, skinned here as an L87, I was a little bit harsh on the glove, you know, coming from wearing lots of different glove breaks and getting used to some of the gloves without a strap. I had a tough time kind of going back to the leather strap and didn't love this 580 as much as I've loved some gloves in the past. Out with the old, in with the new. PX4 restored all faith I had in the 580. This is my favorite glove. And the reason is this Game Ready Extra. It is the perfect blend between closability out of the box for somebody that doesn't want to take the time to break in a glove, or if you're using, if you're a pro, you're ordering 2 gloves, a practice and a game glove. But it's got that little bit of extra padding. So this is going to close better than that, but it's got enough padding. And I used, as you can tell by all the puck marks, I used my PX3 set a ton. And after I finished the review a month or 2 later, I finally figured out how to adjust all of these straps here and how to wear the wrist straps so that I was comfortable in it. So when PX4 showed up, I was comfortable in the glove, was never really comfortable in PX3. And I got this amazing new closure option. And so this glove has been amazing. That's kind of the review, but you can watch it again in the follow-up video. I'll show you the closure real quick, and then we'll get to the blocker and wrap things up. All right, so here is the Game Ready Extra. Super sweet closure there. And this closes great, and I am not squeezing hard. My hand is not getting... Click over to the Game Ready, and you can see it's fine. It's just not as buttery. I'm really gripping this. It's hard to explain that in a video, but this is taking a lot more grip strength to get the glove this closed. That one is just buttery. So Game Ready Extra is the way to go if you're ordering a custom order glove. And if you want some help with that, contact somebody like Goalie Monkey, and they'll get you going with the custom specs. Unlike the glove video, which was short and sweet, probably ramble a bit here. Hopefully you like that if you're still tuned in and watching my videos, but we'll talk you through what's different between the blocker on the left and the blocker on the right. As I mentioned, True has glove numbers, and it's just sort of the skin, and they are updated from time to time, but it's not like each year they're really inventing a new glove. The blockers are pretty similar. So there is a huge change for this year, though. The blocker on the left with the HZRDUS skin is known as the 615. That is a brand new model for 2024. The blocker on the right with the L87 skin, the PX3, is the 595 blocker, which I would speculate was probably their best selling for a long stretch of time. And that's kind of, you know, their bread and butter blocker. All right, so like with the pads, the changes are kind of subtle. You look at both of these, they look like a blocker. But let's dive into what's different. What's new about the 615, aside from the board, which we'll get into a bit, but it has a redesigned blocker sidewall, finger protection, index finger, and sort of the thumb angle. So the first thing, I think the most obvious, is we have this recessed notch here. Versus here, the padding comes straight around, and then we'll try and get in there. But if you look at the assembly as well, the blocker board is actually up in, the sidewall is kind of in front of the blocker board versus here. If you can see the shadow, and I can actually get my pointer in there, it doesn't sit flush. There's a little seam versus that one sits perfectly flush. And then the thumb, you can see here, you know, we have about an inch of space here between the bottom of the thumb and the sidewall pad versus here, the thumb sits at a different angle. So it kind of comes higher up into the sidewall here. And so we probably have whatever, a 1/2 inch or a 3/4 inch. So the sidewall has been, although again, kind of like I was saying with the pads, you probably really can't go wrong with either. They're both solid blockers. It's going to get down to a matter of preference. I think it's a little bit less than other lines where like somebody really wants a flexible, squishy pad, go with Model A. You want stiff, go with Model B. I think the differences between the Lefebvre line is going to be much more sort of subtle and preference driven, but both of them are great. But anyway, so this is designed to be more robust, modern design, but also give you great mobility. This is a bit more classic. Another subtle difference here is the straight finger protection is a little bit different. We don't have the laces here. It's actually closed in, basically attached in with Velcro, but it's also sewn in, so it's not really adjusted. It just has a nice, cleaner look. Another key difference is the way the index finger is mounted. So you can see here the elastic comes off the tip and into the finger protection, and that is pretty slick. I love it. Really feels like the finger is well protected and like you're gonna get really good movement out of that articulated index finger pad. I can say, depending on how people hold their stick or what type of paddle grip you have, because of the way this moves, I could see some people not liking that one as much. So I like it, again, purely a preference-based option. Both these are gonna have sure grip in the palm, and then I went with the half cuff option. Quite frankly, I hate cuffs. So this one is the most open, and it's got Velcro here to open up the cuff, but I'd be perfectly happy if this section just didn't even exist on the blocker. So I go with the half cuff to get it as open as possible. And you can see there, labeled 615. Both of these I would describe as a tight fit. You have a decent handboard, or excuse me, a decent pad here between the back of the blocker board and the inside of the palm. And just zooming in on the Catalyst series, same thing. We have the Velcro here for adjustability, decent pad, you know, for looking at the space between the back of the board and the inside of the hand. Not the biggest in the industry, but certainly not bad. The sure grip, and then this has the traditional finger mounting. So on the 615, it's up here. And it's on both sides versus it's mounted a little bit lower here on the 595. And you can see it almost looks like this twists, but you have a lot more range of motion with the fingers. So the finger's a lot more independent of the padding here. And we'll show you the 615 again one more time. The 615, it's mounted higher up toward the tip of the finger. And there's an elastic strap on the inside and on the outside versus just the outside on the PX3. So this is going to feel a lot more connected to the blocker and a lot tighter. And like I said, I absolutely love it, but I could definitely see somebody who wants a little bit more of a looser feeling blocker, maybe has unique stick positioning or unique stick grip. The way this all moves together so tightly could be problematic for some people, but I'm a big fan. Yeah, so just wrapping up the blocker video, one other thing I wanted to point out, probably harped on Lefebvre a little bit for being the most expensive gear on the market, and you're paying for high quality craftsmanship even though it doesn't affect the performance. You can see you get some sort of puckering on the side of the 595 blocker. Freaking-lutely dialed in here on the PX4, tight as a drum. So I know it's subtle, but goalies are also picky as hell. And so when you buy your new blocker and it is top of the line, you do expect the fit and finish to be out of this world. And that is something that True absolutely corrected the couple. And again, it's not the blocker board, it's not the most important piece, but True definitely did correct the fit and finish. So love that about the 615 as well. In terms of performance, I find the blockers pretty similar in terms of rebound and performance. If anything, probably a little bit on the 615. They're good, solid, hard rebounds, but nothing, you know, I don't believe anything in terms of the board is drastically or hugely different where it's got like a carbon fiber plate and this has a polymer plate or anything like that. I believe the constructions are both pretty similar underneath the hood. But to my point, the nice thing about the True Gear is there's no BS in terms of the marketing. Like I say, they can be relatively similar, and it's like, generally speaking, 80% of goalies in the market today kind of want similar things. And that's where, like, you know, basically one glove and 3 different breaks, you know, a couple different blocker nuances with there. And then the pads, you know, everybody wants a flexible boot and a stiff thigh rise. They don't make a flexible pad for the sake of a flexible pad, but if you are one of those goalies, and I'm talking at retail off the shelf, and if you are one of those goalies that needs to contact Goalie Monkey and get custom gear, if you want an old school feeling soft pad, you can absolutely order that with True's Customizer. Oh yeah, and absolutely not to be forgotten, all of the True pads come with the Pro Laces, the best quality, best made in Canada bungees that exist. Worked with Pro Laces for a long time and want to give the team, Michelle over there, a shout out for making a great product. It's included on all the True gear. All right, so hopefully you made it to the end of this video. I appreciate everybody for taking the time to watch this. I hope nobody was too offended, took the summer off. Might start doing that again in the future. We'll figure that out next year. But it's back to hockey, so it's back to TGN content creation. Seriously love some feedback. It's been a minute, very open to changes. I'd even love to know, what background do we like better? Do we like the fireside chat look or the TGN Gear Labs with the synthetic ice? Is question 1 for y'all. And question 2 is, do you like a glove and blocker comparison video and a pad comparison video, or just do it all in one video so it's easier to find and you can scroll ahead? And reminder, new partnership with Goalie Monkey, purchasing code coming to help with the channel. Hopefully we'll be able to offer discounts in the future. So maybe if you use the code a lot, I can convince the good people over there that we're making good and to pay it back. But we got to start somewhere. So I really appreciate Goalie Monkey for the new sponsorship opportunity. And lastly, I might dive into helping with customs a little bit. I haven't quite figured that out. So if you'd be interested to work with me and then on custom and then order it through Goalie Monkey, throw a comment down below as well. We can start a dialogue on that and figure out if that is a gap which people are asking for. So this is the GoalNet signing out.